laughing when I killed my mother.
Why'd you get rid of that shirt?
It had pieces of my mother's brain stuck to it. Probably killed Josh with a sledgehammer too.
This is 15-year-old Zachary Davis. He's just been brought in for questioning after a fire was discovered at his house. Initially, the tragedy appeared to be nothing more than an unfortunate accident. That is, until a body was discovered inside the home. Even more horrifying was the fact that the victim, Zachary's mother, hadn't been killed by the flames, but by a sledgehammer before the fire was even started. In about 3 seconds, you'll see Zachary crack, but not in the way anyone expected.
It looks kind of evil when you do that, I'm gonna have to say. I think you know you're doing it.
In this never-before-seen interrogation footage, Zachary is brutally honest as he details his crime, and yet his astonishing motive leaves investigators wondering how much of this chilling tale is the result of a disturbed mind or a series of cleverly concocted lies. In the early hours of August 10, 2012, emergency services were called to a house fire in Hendersonville, Tennessee. Inside the burning home, firefighters discovered the body of Melanie Davis lying on her bed, covered in blood and brutally disfigured. The single mom of 2 teenage boys worked as a paralegal and trained as a triathlete. Outside the home, one of her sons, 17-year-old Joshua Davis, waited with the police, but his younger brother, Zachary, was nowhere to be found. 4 hours later, and around 5 miles from the home, police spotted 15-year-old Zachary Davis as he walked alone down a road, attempting to leave town. He was subsequently picked up and brought to the Summer Country Sheriff's Office for questioning. His interview is just the beginning of a truly disturbing case, filled with shocking allegations and a series of twisted lies.
This is the Sheriff's Office, and what we'd like to do is talk to you about something happened at your house, and that's what we kind of like to talk to you about. You've probably seen some cop shows and stuff, right? You've seen police shows and things like that. You do have rights and stuff, and so before asking you questions, you must understand your rights. You want to go ahead and talk to us about what happened tonight?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you do, Zach, what I want to do is make sure you understand that this is a waiver, right, saying you're waiving your rights. What I'd like to do is make sure you can read and write. If you would, read that last paragraph out loud.
I have read this statement of my rights, and I understand what my rights are.
With his confirmation that he's waiving his rights, the interview gets underway.
You've never been in any trouble, have you?
No, sir.
So, no trouble in school, nothing like that?
No, sir.
One of the obvious unusual characteristics about Zachary is his lack of expression of emotion or emotional detachment. His monotone voice and flat facial expression are indications of a person who is either guarded and is consciously avoiding any show of emotion, or a person who struggles to express emotion because of some other issue, such as a psychotic disorder like schizophrenia, or a developmental disorder like autism spectrum disorder. Though he doesn't offer up a lot of information himself, the investigators have researched Zachary's family and began asking him about his past to get him comfortable with talking to them.
I understand that your father had passed away.
Yes, sir.
How did he pass away?
He died from Lou Gehrig's disease.
Pretty rough on you, wasn't it?
No, sir.
It didn't bother you?
No, sir.
I was told that it bothered you. That you were upset about your dad. Is that not true?
No, sir.
So it is true?
No, sir.
Okay.
In 2007, the Davis family faced their first tragedy, but certainly not their last. The 2 boys lost their father, Chris, to amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, also known as ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease. Losing a parent is traumatic for any child, but despite his denials, his father's death impacted Zachary even more severely than most, and with consequences that would unfold years later. According to family, Zachary was already a quiet kid, but at only 9 years old when his father died, he became even more withdrawn. Following the tragedy, the family, now just Melanie and her 2 sons, moved to Sumner County, and though this was meant to be a fresh start, things would only get worse for them once there. At 11, Zachary began to display strange behavior, though it isn't clear exactly what, but Melanie grew concerned enough to seek medical help for her son.
Have you ever had to see a doctor for anything as far as having problems with thinking about things or anything?
I saw a few therapists shortly after we moved here, but wasn't for a very long duration of time.
What was that about? Who wanted you to see a therapist?
My mother.
She did. Okay, so it was just a couple times is all you saw him. How long ago was that?
The year that we moved here.
You remember what year that was?
2008, I think.
What were the reasons that your mama wanted you to go to therapy?
She never told me.
Zachary was diagnosed with a depressive disorder, but that was just the beginning. He also told doctors that he was hearing voices, including the voice of his deceased father, and he was soon diagnosed with psychosis. However, at some point, his mother stopped his mental health treatment, but it's unknown exactly why. While psychosis itself is not a clinical disorder, it is a symptom that is often associated with schizophrenia. Onset of schizophrenia in children is very rare, but still possible. Other causes of hearing voices during childhood could include depression, an anxiety disorder, and/or experiencing a traumatic event, such as the death of a parent. Despite Zachary telling investigators he wasn't seeing anyone for help, the calendar on his phone showed that he had at least one meeting with the guidance counselor at his school, Ms. Higgs, indicating that perhaps someone realized something was wrong, though no one could have guessed the true extent of just how disturbed he was.
Something went on at your house today, and I just kind of like you to kind of tell us what happened.
I killed my mom in her sleep with a sledgehammer.
Is there a reason why you did that?
Yes, sir.
Well, can you tell me why?
No, sir.
You can't tell me why?
No, sir.
Is it a reason you don't know why you did it, or you just don't want to tell?
I do know why I did it. I just rather not tell.
Okay. You do know why you did it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you set the house on fire too?
I tried to. I don't know if it actually caught the whole house on fire, though.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, it did. I mean, a little bit, I think, but not bad or anything. Have you been having problems with your mom?
No, sir.
Unlike most crimes, it's all too clear that Zachary is the killer, but though he states freely that he killed his mother, this story will change eventually. Hauntingly, recovered text messages between Zachary and his mom seem to indicate that they had a seemingly ordinary, even loving relationship. In one, Zachary wrote to his mother, "Sorry, I was asleep," with a heart emoji. Another, this one from Melanie to Zachary, reads, "Love you, tried to talk to you before we left, but your door was locked." Through these texts, the family appeared to be perfectly normal, but that couldn't be further from the truth.
We found a book on a notepad that was on you, and it said some things in there. Is that notepad yours that we found? It talks about your mom and about.
Yes, sir.
And that's what's so important about this. I mean, we want to understand what. Like I said, you don't have to tell us if you don't want to. I mean, but we want to understand, what happened. I mean, that's important. I mean, I know it could be kind of scary to talk about, but.
Would you feel more comfortable if there were just one person in the room?
I don't mind having two people here.
Okay.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
And like I said, like I told you in your rights, you don't have to tell us if you don't want to. It's very important though that, something like this that happens, there's usually a reason for it. And, that's what we want to know is the reason. This is your time to tell us, why that happened,
I'd rather not, sir.
Okay.
The text messages from the day before he killed his mom show them planning to go to a movie. Melanie first wrote, Hey, sweetie, I just took Josh to the orthodontist. We'll be back hopefully soon. Then later, we can see Born or Campaign today. I want to see both. And, sounds good, Josh is back in, but we may need to pick him up at Ryan's house. The last message she sent before her death was to Zachary and reads only, okay, with a heart. It's eerily clear that Melanie had no idea what Zachary was planning, or that she would meet such a horrific end just hours after attending a movie with her 2 sons. Zachary's brother Josh has also been brought to the police station to speak with police. He was asked to recount his day before the fire was set. He told them that he had gone to the orthodontist with his mother before returning home. His answer also reveals a bit about his relationship with his brother.
What's that doing when you get home?
I think she's playing Xbox or something. We kind of, I don't know, we kind of keep to ourselves, I guess.
Okay, so you and Zach don't have a good relationship?
Well, no, we do. It's just like, I don't know, like he just kind of, stays to himself. He's kind of a quiet person, I guess.
Has he been having any problems? I mean,
he's always been kind of like quiet, I guess odd.
Josh seems hesitant to talk about his brother, and although he's giving limited information, the descriptive words such as quiet and odd may indicate that Zachary was showing signs of mental health issues. What's also strange here is Josh's apparent lack of visible concern, given what just happened to his mother. The average son or family member would be hysterical and wondering, or at least theorizing, about what could have prompted Zachary to commit such a horrific act. However, there's a chance he's in shock, as this all just occurred a few hours earlier.
What kind of person is your brother?
Your typical male teenager.
Typical male teenager? You two get along pretty good?
Sometimes.
Despite this claim, texts between the brothers show that they messaged fairly often, talking about how their school year was delayed, video games, and how Zachary wanted to spend his birthday alone, with Josh writing to him, "If you don't want Ryan to come over, I can tell him not to. I want you to have your birthday the way you want it, and I especially want you to be happy on your birthday." In one more recent message, Josh even apologizes for arguing with Zachary. The brothers often used heart emojis in their messages, frequently saying "I love you" to each other. From the outside, it's difficult to imagine such a horrific tragedy occurring in this family, but only because Zachary has yet to reveal his motive to investigators.
When you talk to people on the phone, who do you talk to? I mean, do you have friends you chat with or anything like that?
No, sure. I usually only talk to my mother and my brother on my phone.
So you don't have any friends other than your mother and your brother that you talk to?
No, sure.
Zachary may not have had many friends outside of his family, but a note in his phone indicated that there was a teacher who he was close to. The note reads, "Thursday, March 29th, 2012. I saw Mr. Voss at school today. From the way he looked at me, I could tell he hated me. I didn't know what to say to him, so I just kept walking. I really hope I can repair our friendship before I leave Tennessee. He's the only person I've met that has sincerely cared about me. Hell, he's like a father to me. I don't know what I did to cause this, but I hope it can be forgiven. Mr. Voss is also the only true friend I've ever had." This note depicts a very different person from the emotionally detached teen we're seeing in this interrogation. His note shows indications of emotion, of caring what another person thinks of him, and of caring about another person, his teacher. The note indicates that Zachary may be lonely, and that he may not be able to connect with kids his age if he names a teacher as his friend. In his interview, Josh tells the detectives that when the movie ended around 8 p.m., the family went directly home.
You didn't see anything tonight that was any different than the way he normally acts?
I mean, no.
It's surprising that Zachary was not either acting differently from his typical behavior just prior to murdering his mother, or at least showing a change in his behavior recently. The level of aggression that he inflicted on his mother when he killed her, and the simple fact that he went through with murdering her, are behaviors that occur when a person has snapped or has reached an emotional breakdown. Josh then recounts going into his mother's room to talk to her just a few hours before Zachary killed her.
I went and talked to my mom for a little while, and then
Remember about what time that was?
that was right around 9, probably. That was right when I said good night, and then she went to sleep, and then I went upstairs and was in my room.
So you talked to her for a few minutes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
She was working out when I went in there, so I worked out with her for a minute.
What was she doing when you said she was working out? What was she working out?
Like doing sit-ups and stuff.
Despite describing what were his last moments with his mother, Josh still shows very little, if any, emotion.
When you get home and your mom goes to bed at 9, where are you and what are you doing in the house? Are you in the house?
I was in the room already planning everything.
You were in your bedroom or in the room where the fire was started?
The room where the fire was started.
What do you call that room?
What do you call it? Game room.
Game room? So you're in the game room planning everything?
Yes, sir.
All right. And how long does it take you to plan that?
Probably a few minutes, but I waited for several hours to make sure everybody in the house was asleep.
How did you make sure they were asleep?
I just waited and then checked on them.
Just checked on them? Opened the door and looked at them?
Yes, sir. I killed her at around 11 p.m., I think. And I think she went to sleep at around 9 o'clock.
Okay. When you killed her, what about your brother lives there with you too, right? That's the only person who lives with you?
Yes, sir.
Did you do anything to him?
No, sir. I was kind of expecting the fire to kill him.
Oh, you were? Okay.
That's right. Zachary didn't just set the fire in an attempt to destroy the evidence of him killing his mother, but also in the hopes that his brother would be killed by the flames. As well, to ensure Melanie's death, after hitting her with the sledgehammer, Zachary locked the door behind him to prevent Josh from going in and potentially helping her.
And then I woke up around, I'm not sure what time it is, whenever the thing was going off. And, at first I didn't know what it was. I thought it was like a sound in my room. Then I figured out it was a fire alarm. I was running around, and I was looking for my brother upstairs in his room. He wasn't in there, and I saw the fire was started in there. So I ran down the stairs to get my mom, and the door was locked. So I had to kick the door in to get in there. And then I saw her on the bed.
What did you do then?
I just went outside the house and called 911 and went and got my neighbors and Mark and Shelley.
Where'd you get the sledgehammer at?
From my garage.
Okay, and what about, how did you try and set the fire?
First I tried to drag a lawnmower upstairs and get to the fuel tank in the room, but I couldn't do that, so I just poured a bottle of whiskey on the floor and lit it on fire.
A bottle of whiskey?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And was that before or after you hit your mom?
After.
After, okay. How many times did you hit her with the sledgehammer?
I don't know.
I mean, any estimation?
I'd say at least 12.
12 times. Where did you hit her at on her body?
Around the head area.
Okay, was she sleeping at the time, or?
Yes, sir.
Okay, did she wake up and say anything to you?
No, sir. I put my fingers on her neck to check her pulse and make sure she was dead.
Did you touch her anywhere else?
No, sir.
Have you thought about touching her anywhere else?
No, sir.
Josh was asked the same question, likely to determine if his story will match the forensic evidence found on Melanie's body.
When you went in the bedroom, at any time did you touch your mom? When you went in that room?
No, I don't think so. Like, I kind of, no.
He witnessed the altercation.
Like, I ran in and because then I saw her and I was like freaking out.
When you left, what were your plans at that point?
I haven't thought that far ahead.
Oh, you hadn't. When did you think about doing this? I mean, when did this pop into your head as far as killing your mom?
Several years ago.
Had you told anybody about it?
No, sir.
So, with this, I mean, thinking about this, was your mom just bad to you, or
No, sir.
a pretty good mom? Was she a pretty good mom, or?
She wasn't really good mom, but
No.
she wasn't really a bad mom.
No.
Refusing to classify her as either a good or a bad mom and sounding apathetic regarding his relationship with her could indicate that he was unable to form a true emotional connection with her or anyone else. Because of his willingness to answer most of the investigators' questions, except for his all-important motive, they ask him a series of questions to get as much information as possible.
He mentioned a note that has been found. When did you have a chance to write that?
While I was waiting and after I did it.
So you
okay.
did the whole note. There's like two and a half pages. You did it all tonight.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So you did some before you killed your mother and some after?
Yes, sir.
When did you write the last part? About what time did you write the last part?
I don't know, sometime around 2 a.m. or 3 a.m., I think.
Okay, while you were out walking and stuff.
Yes, sir.
Was it before you bought the Pepsi at the Thorntons?
Yes, sir.
You had your phone with you for a while. Did you call anybody on your phone?
No,
After?
sir.
Okay, what'd you do with your phone?
I didn't do anything with it. I didn't even realize it was in my pocket until I left Thornton's.
So where's it at now?
I threw it in a ditch.
Why'd you throw it away?
I assumed that I could be tracked through it.
Okay. What was your plans as far, I mean, you didn't have any plans on where you're heading to, or how, evidently you were trying to escape and trying to get away from police. You don't remember where you're trying to go to.
No, sir.
You had a backpack, and so you had stuff. You were just going to walk and just try and get out of the area.
Yes, sir.
Chillingly, after killing his mom and fleeing the house, Zachary went to a convenience store to buy a Pepsi before he began walking in an attempt to escape from police. Though he had made an elaborate plan, it doesn't appear that he thought ahead to what he would do after. According to unverified rumors online from people claiming to live in Sumner County, after setting the fire, Zachary ran non-stop for almost 5 miles with no destination in mind. Ironically, a note on his phone written 7 months earlier on January 22, 2012, indicates that he had thought about his escape, or at least criminals escaping police detection more broadly. The note states, "After reading dozens of news reports about killers, I believe I found several consistent reasons why most killers are caught within a year. They rely too much on civilization. Most killers hide out in heavily populated areas or easily accessible areas. They don't migrate to other areas after several kills in a row. This makes the police in their area more alert and the citizens more cautious. Most rely too much on firearms or other weapons that produce loud noises. This will attract unwanted attention to their location." This sort of obsession with murder and serial killers can occur among people with severe mental illness. The fixation doesn't necessarily have to be with murder and serial killers, but it just so happened to be the case with Zachary. These individuals may often struggle with low self-esteem and therefore derive a sense of feeling powerful when they identify with bad guys like serial killers. Zachary may have felt tough and strong by learning the strategies of killers and thinking he could emulate them. Maybe this gave him a sense of identity, believing that he could not only be a killer too, but become a smarter killer by not making the same mistakes as the criminals he studied. Still, there was other evidence of Zachary's plan falling apart, such as the knife investigators found abandoned at the scene.
So why is the knife outside?
I was trying to put it into my backpack, and then the fire alarm started, and I just ran out.
What were you going to use that knife for?
Same thing I used the sledgehammer for.
Who were you going to use the knife on?
No specific person.
Were you looking to kill someone else tonight?
Only if they got in my way.
What do you mean by that?
If they tried to stop me from escaping.
So the lady at Thornton's who sold you the Pepsi, she was never in any danger.
No, sir.
But the officer that arrested you could have potentially been in danger if you were of the mind.
I guess, but it would be kind of pointless considering he had a gun and I just had a knife and a hammer.
What if he didn't have a gun and he tried to stop you?
I wouldn't attack him unless I was provoked by him.
Were you provoked by your brother?
No, sir.
Were you provoked by your mother?
No, sir.
What is most troubling is that according to both Zachary and Josh, there was no indication that he had been planning any of this. In crime scene photos exclusively obtained by Ewu, there appears to be a code written on what may be the handle of the sledgehammer. Police also recovered a handwritten alphabetic key to the code. The code written on the handle translates as Z Requiem. This has never been publicly confirmed, but ZED could possibly stand for Zachary's initials, Zachary Everett Davis. He may have also named the sledgehammer Requiem, which often refers to a mass for the dead. This is pure speculation and just a theory, but this coded message could potentially be evidence that Zachary may have planned the attack ahead of time.
This is kind of serious. I mean, Zach, it's kind of serious thing to think about killing your mom. You didn't try and talk to anybody about this?
No, sir.
Why not? I mean, didn't this not bother you? Or
Yes, sir.
it did bother you?
No, sir.
Oh, it did bother you? Have you ever hurt anybody before?
No, sir.
Well, I mean, how did you feel when you killed your mom?
I didn't feel anything.
It's possible that Zachary is saying what he thinks a serial killer would say, as though he's playing a role. It's difficult to say for sure, but we know that he was affectionate toward his mother in the text messages they exchanged, and she was affectionate toward him as well. He made the same comment about not feeling anything about his father's death. It's possible that it's easier for Zachary to cut off all emotion than to feel the pain of grief and loss. On the other hand, his complete detachment from his mom may be the result of a personality disorder, such as schizoid personality disorder. In this disorder, the individual does not want to have any close relationships, even with family members. They prefer to be alone and appear to be cold and have a flattened affect, as Zachary does.
Did y'all have any, I mean, was there any problems between you and him, or him and your mom, or
Not that I know of.
did they have any
Or the painting.
disagreements, or, I mean, was there anything
Like, I think they would argue.
other than normal parent kid
Not that I
argument?
know
By the
of.
parks office.
And yet, Zachary had savagely attacked his mother while she slept.
What did you do with the sledgehammer after you hit her with it?
I just laid it in our laundry room.
Why did you hit her about 12 times within why so many times?
To make sure she was dead.
The officer asks Zachary to demonstrate how he swung the sledgehammer to kill his mother.
Kind of like that, basically.
So you right-handed?
Yes, sir.
Stand back up. Stand back up. Is that blood on your pants right there? In the front, right where your crotch is.
Oh, no, that's dirty.
Did you change
This
clothes?
is blood, though.
Oh, okay. And is that your mother's blood?
Yes, sir.
Those are the same shoes you were wearing?
Yes, sir.
Those are the same pants you were wearing?
Yes, sir.
That's the same shirt you were wearing?
No, sir.
Where's the shirt you were wearing?
I threw it away.
Why'd you get rid of that shirt?
It had pieces of my mother's brain stuck to it.
Still trying to understand why Zachary had killed his mother in such a brutal way, the officer asks him to recount his day before the attack. It was then that detectives noticed something interesting. Zachary told them that he started his day by reading a book, Misery by Stephen King.
In the Misery book, one of the characters uses a sledgehammer. Am I correct in that?
Yes, sir.
Actually, the detectives have this wrong. In the book Misery, the main character uses an axe, while in the movie adaptation, she uses a sledgehammer.
Are you sure you didn't get any of your thought process from from that book?
Yes, sir.
So,
I smashed my mother's head with it, and the book she used it to break her victim's legs.
so do you think, so you're saying that's strictly coincidence?
Yes, sir.
So you didn't draw any kind of thought process from the book Misery as to how you killed your mother?
No, sir.
Zach, we've been doing this a long time, and I mean, sledgehammer is a very unusual weapon to kill somebody with. So that's why he and I are asking that question, why a sledgehammer?
I would have used a knife, but I was worried that I'd miss a vital area.
Did you have any other type of weapons in the house that you thought about using?
I also thought about using a claw hammer.
A claw hammer?
Yes, sir.
I mean, you don't remember feeling anything? Did you cry?
No, sir.
Were you screaming when you were hitting her?
No, sir.
Did you say anything to her before you hit her?
No, sir.
Did you love your mother?
Somewhat.
You say somewhat. I mean, is there anything she's ever did to you that you hate her for?
No, sir.
Though Zachary denies that the book inspired his weapon of choice, possibly because he wants to take all the credit himself, his internet history indicates that murder and death was something he'd been thinking about for a long time. He had two particularly strange apps downloaded on his phone, including one about serial killers and another about torture devices. As well, among the more mundane video game cheat codes and jokes, he had a copious amount of gory images. Zachary had also bookmarked a few bizarre websites, including articles about the murder of Junko Furuta, Catherine Murch, who took her own life after killing her kids, the Louisville chainsaw murder, a cult leader on trial in Ohio for killing a family of 5, and an X-Acto knife double homicide. He also had a particular obsession with the killer Nevada Tan, also known as the Sasebo slashing, where an 11-year-old murdered another schoolgirl, 12-year-old Satomi Mitarai. Perhaps most tellingly, Zachary had also bookmarked an article titled Understanding Schizophrenia from helpguide.org. It's possible that he may have been trying to figure out why he was experiencing certain symptoms. Although Zachary may have some sort of severe mental illness, maybe even psychosis, as he's sitting in the interrogation room answering questions, he appears more like a cold-blooded murderer than a person suffering from psychosis. But this wasn't all. Zachary made notes on his phone that give unique insight into his twisted state of mind leading up to the killing. One says simply, Samantha Marshall, female, possible victim of rape. Another says, hanging over the masses like a shadow or a dark cloud, executing them all one by one without a sound, omnipresent and biding its time, ready to steal you away at your prime, welcoming to the stupid and the bold, not following any pattern, just doing as told, laying to rest kings, queens, peasants, and thrall. Death will eventually punish us all.
So you could rewind the clock and go back. What would you do?
I would probably kill Josh with a sledgehammer too.
In stark contrast to Zachary's statement, When Josh was brought in for a second interview, the detective asks him about an incident that occurred at school, showing that the brothers saw their relationship with each other completely differently.
But when you got in trouble at school, I think it was last year, what happened to cause that when you got in a fight? Somebody said they were picking on Zach.
Oh, no, that was 8th grade.
Oh, was it 8th grade?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was middle school, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What happened to cause, I mean, what were they doing?
He was like he had like a piece of paper, like, you know how you roll up a thing of paper.
Mm-hmm.
He was just kind of hitting him with that.
Hitting Zach with it?
Yeah, and I told the kid to stop, and he went up there and did it again. So.
Okay. And what was Zach's take on that?
I mean,
was he mad that the guy was hitting him, or was he just indifferent, or did he ask you to do something about it? Or
no, he didn't ask me to do anything.
Okay. Just taking up for little brother.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible that Zachary resented that his brother stepped in to be the hero. He may have been frustrated that he couldn't protect himself and instead had to be saved by Josh.
Do you still want to kill Josh?
Yes.
And you're not going to tell me why?
No, sir.
I'm really curious as to why. I mean, you said that he was the only confidant you had. You didn't talk to anybody else. Why would you want to get rid of the only person that you confide in and talk to?
I don't know.
Well, you said you don't want to tell me, so you do know. There's a difference in wanting to tell me and not knowing. You just told me you didn't want to tell me, so you do know why you want to kill your brother and you killed your mother. I would just like for you to share that with me.
I'd rather not, sir.
But you will admit that you know why you did it.
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you this. Do you always talk like you're talking to us now?
Yes, sir.
So if I talk to someone that knows you or a teacher, they're going to say, this is your demeanor. This is how you talk.
Most likely.
So you're always monotone and robotic when you talk.
Yes, sir.
Unnerved by Zachary's behavior during his interrogation, detectives ask Josh the same question.
Has he always been talking that monotone voice?
Like quiet.
He's kind of quiet, and his voice don't go up or down. It's just like a flat monotone voice. Is that the way he normally talks? Always? When did he start talking that way?
It's always been the way I remember.
Really?
Yeah.
You ever laugh?
Sometimes.
What makes you laugh?
Various things.
Various things.
Give me an example.
While I was laughing my ass off when I killed my mother.
You were what?
I was laughing when I killed my mother.
You were laughing? Why were you laughing?
I don't know.
Were you laughing your ass off at that time?
Yes, sir.
Paradoxical laughter often occurs among people with schizophrenia. They may laugh either to themselves, often in response to a hallucination, or they may laugh in serious situations. However, throughout the interrogation, he has not laughed inappropriately at all. It's possible that Zachary once again is trying to present himself as the evil villain he may identify with. Whether Zachary is as void of emotion as he's trying to portray is unknown. His note entries on his phone, which show expressions of emotion, puts into question this image of himself that he's trying to show in interrogation.
Why were you laughing your ass off when you killed your mother?
I don't know.
Yes, you do. We went over this a while ago. You know why that you wanted to kill your mom. You just don't want to tell me.
No, I actually don't know why I was laughing.
Well, was it a sense of accomplishment?
No, sir.
Do you laugh when you read the horror books?
No, sir.
Did you laugh today or yesterday when you read Misery?
No, sir.
Do you see do you see why it would be difficult for me to understand why that would be funny?
Yes, sir.
A lot of people, because it's just highly unusual for a 15-year-old to take a sledgehammer and be laughing his ass off and hit her in the head with it 12 times. What do you think?
don't have any new information to give to you.
You can't think of any reason whatsoever?
No, sir.
With still no indication why he killed his mother in such a brutal way, the detective attempts to figure out if there were any issues in the family that may have motivated Zachary. In response to the detective's continued questioning, Zachary makes a shocking allegation against a family member, claiming that they assaulted him years earlier. This has never been proven to be true, and there is no evidence to back up any of Zachary's allegations.
What did he do to you?
He me shortly after we arrived to Tennessee.
How long ago was that? How long you been in Tennessee?
Since 2008, I think, or 2007. I don't really remember the exact date when we moved here.
Did you tell your mom about it?
Yes, sir.
What'd she do?
She didn't believe me.
She didn't believe you? Did he leave you after that?
No, sir.
Just that one time is when he did it?
Yes, sir.
And
How old would you have been then?
11.
Did you hold any ill will towards him for that?
Yes, sir.
And the conversation you had with your mother about that, can you tell us about that?
She thought it was my imagination.
Did she ever talk to him?
Not that I know of.
Did he never mentioned anything?
No, sir.
And why did he stop doing it?
I stopped bathing after that.
You stopped bathing
Yes, sir.
and he stopped, and that made him stop?
Yes, sir.
when you mean stop bathing, you mean you stop taking baths and showers altogether?
Yes, sir.
So how did you clean yourself?
I didn't.
You haven't cleaned yourself since 2008?
I have inconsistent intervals, but it's not very common.
Okay.
The detectives have referred to a notebook they found at the house, which miraculously survived the fire. Within, they found 2 notes written by Zachary. I was raped by him that day, and I've been planning to kill him ever since. The second entry, a confession, is believed to be written right after he killed his mother. I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel remorse. My only true regret was that I didn't give her a faster death. I didn't want her to suffer. It's possible that Zachary's belief about being assaulted was actually a delusion. Individuals diagnosed with schizophrenia may experience delusions, which are strongly held beliefs that are unfounded.
There's always a reason. There's always a story. And just because it's your story and we're sitting here today doesn't make it any less important to us. It's important to us to find out what the truth is. We would like to deal with that, but we want to hear your side of it. We want to know what happened. Why did, obviously upset you. But your mom didn't do anything. You know why it took this long for you to act out?
No, sir.
So you just boiled and boiled and boiled? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Would there have been any certain thing tonight that would have set that off? I mean, made you think about doing this? I mean, anything particular that happened of all nights, since 2008, it's 2012 now, of all nights since then that you would have did this?
No, sir.
As the interview begins to draw to a close, the detectives ask Zachary a few last questions.
What do you think what should happen if somebody did what you did?
I don't know.
I mean,
I guess whatever's necessary.
whatever's necessary, but I mean, what do you feel? I mean, what do you feel? I mean, if somebody was to do this to you, what should happen to them?
I don't think it would really matter. Because if you give them the death sentence, they'll die, and if you give them a life sentence, they'll die in prison anyway. So in the end, it doesn't really matter.
So, did you think about the consequences when you did this? What could happen to you?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me about that?
No, sir.
Why not?
rather not say.
I mean, I'm talking about, do you think you could get caught by the police, and do you think that was a possibility?
Yes, sir.
And if you got caught by the police, what do you think would have happened to you?
Well, since I only killed one person, I assumed I'd get the life sentence.
Okay.
But I don't know how it works here.
The officer had just one last question for Zachary, and this one, oddly, results in the most animated reaction that they've seen from him. But his unsettling response isn't at all what you might expect from someone in this situation.
Do you always look at people through your eyebrows?
I don't know. I've never
You've been doing it all morning. Do you do that? Is that a habit, or is that something that you're just started to do?
I guess it's a habit. I've never really noticed.
You never really noticed?
No, sir.
Nobody's ever said anything to you about it.
No, sir.
Why'd you giggle?
It's just funny, I guess.
I mean, you don't know that you do that right there?
No, sir.
Okay. I'm not picking on you, I'm just... It looks kind of evil when you do that, I'm gonna have to say. I think you know you're doing it. And you're smiling about it, so I think you're pretty aware of what you're doing.
No, I didn't realize I was doing it.
Yeah, you did.
Given what we know about Zachary's obsession with murder and serial killers, it's likely that being called evil is a compliment. This again shows that he might identify with some sort of evil character or villain. If Zachary's monotone voice and eerie eyebrow stare are all an act, it's impressive because he was able to keep up the act and not break character throughout the whole interrogation. Following his interrogation, Zachary was evaluated by psychologists and mental health experts. One stated they believed that at the time of the killing, Zachary didn't have the mental capacity to meet the legal definition of premeditation, and that his mental illness affected his ability to use reflection and judgment. In fact, the psychologist said that at the time of the crime, his thoughts were driven by psychosis. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia and a depressive disorder. Changing his story from what he initially said to investigators, Zachary told one doctor that he had heard his deceased father speaking to him and that he had allegedly urged him to kill his mother. Still, investigators pointed out that he had fled the house with bags he had already packed, ditched his phone, and told police that he'd been thinking about killing his mother for years, all demonstrating that he planned the crime. Zachary eventually appeared on the Dr. Phil show, where he gave yet another reason for killing his mother, this time changing his story completely and claiming that he did it because, quote, "she wasn't taking care of my family." But still, in this interview, he maintains that he was the one who killed her. However, he would shock everyone, including his own legal defense, when in court he once again told a completely altered story, naming a different killer. During his trial, Josh sat directly behind Zachary, but the brothers never spoke. When Zachary took the witness stand, he changed the story he had been telling for 2.5 years and stated, quote, "I didn't do it." He suddenly blamed the entire crime on Josh, claiming that he was the one who used the sledgehammer to kill their mother and that he just took the fall, making him innocent. Following this, Zachary's attorney attempted to declare him mentally incompetent and for the case to be deemed a mistrial. Furthering the drama, after his lunch break, the attorney asked to be dismissed from the case, but was denied. The judge speculated that he wasn't sure if Zachary was the ultimate con man or manipulator or not, but that was the jury's job to figure out. Despite his last-ditch attempt to blame Josh, Zachary Davis was convicted of the first-degree murder of his mother, attempted first-degree murder of his brother, and aggravated arson. He was sentenced to 71 years in prison with eligibility for parole after 51 years. To this day, there is speculation that Zachary may have had aspirations to become a serial killer.
A forensic psychological analysis of Zachary Davis, deconstructing a matricide abstract. This document presents an in-depth forensic psychological analysis of Zachary Everett Davis, a 15-year-old adolescent convicted of the first-degree murder of his mother, Melanie Davis, the attempted murder of his brother, Joshua Davis, and aggravated arson. The analysis is based on a comprehensive review of provided interrogation transcripts, witness statements, and background information related to the case. The central objective is to deconstruct the complex interplay of psychological factors that culminated in the brutal matricide on August 10, 2012. We will examine Davis's effective presentation, cognitive processes, interpersonal dynamics, and developmental history to explore potential diagnostic considerations and motivational theories. The analysis delves into the evidence supporting diagnoses such as schizophrenia spectrum disorder, personality disorders, and complex trauma, while also considering the possibility of calculated malingering and psychopathic manipulation. Through a meticulous dissection of his verbal and nonverbal behaviors during interrogation, his documented obsessions, and his radically shifting narratives, this paper aims to illuminate the multifaceted and deeply disturbed psyche of a young man whose actions defy simple explanation. The analysis navigates the ambiguous terrain between severe mental illness and cold, premeditated evil, ultimately concluding that Davis represents a tragic confluence of untreated psychosis, significant developmental trauma, and emerging psychopathic traits, making his case a profound and disturbing subject for criminological and psychological study. 1. Introduction: The Unveiling of a Nightmare. On the surface, the Davis family of Hendersonville, Tennessee, might have appeared to be navigating the familiar, albeit difficult, path of a single-parent household rebuilding after tragedy. Melanie Davis, a dedicated paralegal and triathlete, was raising two teenage sons, 17-year-old Joshua and 15-year-old Zachary, after the premature death of their father from amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS, years earlier. Their lives, while marked by loss, seemed to proceed with a semblance of normalcy, filled with orthodontist appointments, movie nights, and the typical digital communications of a modern family. This veneer of normalcy was irrevocably shattered in the early hours of August 10, 2012, when a house fire revealed a scene of unimaginable horror. Melanie Davis had not perished in the flames, but had been brutally murdered in her sleep, the victim of a savage attack with a sledgehammer. The perpetrator was not an unknown intruder, but her younger son, Zachary. His subsequent apprehension and interrogation unspooled a narrative so chilling and psychologically complex that it continues to confound investigators, mental health professionals, and the public. Zachary Davis, a quiet and withdrawn adolescent, confessed to the crime with a shocking degree of emotional detachment, his monotone voice and flat affect providing a stark, unsettling contrast to the barbarity of his actions. This analysis seeks to move beyond the horrific facts of the crime to explore the intricate and fractured mind of its perpetrator. The case of Zachary Davis is not a simple whodunit, as his confession came swiftly and matter-of-factly. Instead, it is a profound and disturbing why-do-nit. The central questions are not about guilt, but about ideology and motivation. Was this the act of a cold, calculating, budding serial killer, as his obsession with murder and meticulous planning might suggest? Was it the tragic culmination of a severe, untreated psychotic disorder, with a young mind fractured by trauma and in the grip of delusions and hallucinations? Or was Zachary Davis a master manipulator, a con man skillfully weaving a web of lies and feigned illness to mitigate his culpability? To answer these questions, this paper will conduct a multifaceted psychological examination. It will begin with a detailed chronological summary of the case based on the provided information. Following this, a comprehensive psychological profile of Zachary will be constructed, focusing on 4 key domains: effective and emotional presentation, analyzing his profound emotional detachment, flat affect, and paradoxical reactions; cognitive and behavioral patterns, examining his documented obsessions, planning, note-taking, and post-crime behavior; social and interpersonal dynamics, deconstructing his relationships with his mother, brother, deceased father, and others; developmental history and etiological factors, investigating the impact of his father's death, his early mental health diagnoses, and the cessation of his treatment. Subsequently, the analysis will delve into a differential diagnosis, weighing the evidence for schizophrenia, personality disorders, specifically schizoid and antisocial, and trauma-related disorders. The various conflicting motives presented by Zachary, from an inexplicable urge to a fabricated allegation of abuse to a last-ditch effort to blame his brother, will be critically evaluated. Finally, the paper will synthesize these elements to present a holistic, albeit necessarily speculative, understanding of the psychological forces that propelled a 15-year-old boy to commit an act of such extreme violence against his own mother. The case of Zachary Davis serves as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences that can arise when profound psychological distress in an adolescent goes unrecognized, untreated, and catastrophically manifests. 2. Case Summary: A Chronology of Horror. A comprehensive understanding of Zachary Davis's psychological state requires a firm grounding in the sequence of events as they unfolded. The narrative provided offers a clear, if disturbing, timeline from the crime's discovery to Zachary's ultimate conviction. 2.1. The crime and its discovery. In the pre-dawn hours of August 10, 2012, emergency services in Hendersonville, Tennessee, responded to a report of a residential fire. Upon entering the home of Melanie Davis, firefighters made a gruesome discovery. The body of the 48-year-old mother was found on her bed, not primarily a victim of the fire, but of a brutal bludgeoning. The scene was described as bloody and disfigured, indicating a violent and personal assault. The subsequent autopsy would confirm that the cause of death was blunt force trauma inflicted by a sledgehammer, and that the fire was set post-mortem in an attempt to conceal the crime. 2.2. The immediate aftermath and apprehension. Outside the burning home, investigators found the elder son, 17-year-old Joshua Davis. His younger brother, 15-year-old Zachary, was conspicuously absent. This immediately raised suspicion, triggering a search for the missing teenager. Approximately 4 hours later, police located Zachary walking alone on a road about 5 miles from the crime scene. He appeared to be attempting to flee the area on foot. He was taken into custody without incident and transported to the Sumner County Sheriff's Office for questioning. 2.3. The interrogation, a chilling confession. Upon waiving his Miranda rights, Zachary Davis was interrogated by detectives. His demeanor from the outset was highly unusual and deeply unsettling. He exhibited a profound flat affect, characterized by a monotone, robotic voice and a near-total lack of facial expression. There was no sign of the grief, fear, or panic one would expect from a teenager in his situation. Without significant pressure, Zachary confessed to the matricide. He detailed the crime in a detached, matter-of-fact manner. He recounted planning the murder, retrieving a sledgehammer from the family garage, and entering his mother's bedroom while she slept. He admitted to striking her at least 12 times in the head region. His stated reason for the numerous blows was chillingly pragmatic: to make sure she was dead. He further confirmed that he checked for her pulse to verify her death. Zachary also confessed to a broader, more horrifying plan. He had not only murdered his mother, but had also attempted to murder his brother Joshua. His method was arson. After killing Melanie, he locked her bedroom door to prevent Joshua from intervening, and then attempted to set the house ablaze. His initial plan to use gasoline from a lawnmower failed, so he resorted to pouring a bottle of whiskey on the floor and igniting it, hoping the fire would kill his sleeping brother. 2.4. The shifting narrative and trial. While his initial confession was stark and unwavering in its admission of guilt, Zachary's motive remained elusive. Initially, he claimed he did not know why he did it. However, his story began to evolve over time. The abuse allegation. During the interrogation, in response to persistent questioning about his motive, Zachary made a shocking allegation of sexual assault against a family member years prior. He claimed his mother did not believe him when he told her, suggesting this was a source of long-simmering resentment. This allegation has never been substantiated. The psychosis narrative. In evaluations with psychologists, Zachary's story shifted again. He claimed to have been commanded by the voice of his deceased father, who allegedly urged him to kill his mother. This narrative aligned with a diagnosis of psychosis, likely related to schizophrenia. The Dr. Phil motive. In an appearance on the Dr. Phil show, he offered yet another reason, stating he did it because his mother wasn't taking care of my family, a vague and unsubstantiated claim. The trial blame shift. In the most dramatic reversal, during his own trial, Zachary took the stand and recanted his years of confessions. He declared, "I didn't do it," and blamed the entire crime on his brother Joshua, casting himself as a loyal brother taking the fall. This final, desperate gambit failed. The jury, faced with his initial detailed confession and the wealth of incriminating evidence, found his testimony not credible. Zachary Davis was convicted of first-degree murder, attempted first-degree murder, and aggravated arson. He was sentenced to a term of 71 years in prison, with parole eligibility after 51 years. The judge's comment that he was unsure if Zachary was the ultimate con man or manipulator or not perfectly encapsulated the profound ambiguity at the heart of the case, leaving the true nature of his psychological state a subject of enduring debate. 3. Psychological profile of Zachary Davis. To understand the forces that drove Zachary to commit such an atrocious act, it is essential to construct a detailed psychological profile based on the available information. This profile is organized into 4 critical domains: affective presentation, cognitive patterns, interpersonal dynamics, and developmental history. 3. 1. Affective and emotional presentation, the void within. Perhaps the most striking and frequently noted aspect of Zachary Davis's psychology is his profound lack of emotional expression. This was not a temporary state of shock, but a pervasive and defining characteristic of his presentation: flat affect and monotone voice. Throughout the entire interrogation, Zachary maintained what is clinically known as a flat affect. His facial expression was blank and impassive, his voice was robotic and devoid of inflection, monotone, and his body language was still. Detectives explicitly commented on this, asking, "Do you always talk like you're talking to us now?" and describing his voice as flat and robotic. His brother Josh confirmed this was his typical demeanor, stating his voice don't go up or down, and that he had been this way for as long as he could remember. This pervasive lack of emotional expressiveness is a classic negative symptom associated with schizophrenia spectrum disorders. It suggests a diminished capacity to experience or display emotion, a stark contrast to the intense rage that must have fueled the violent attack itself. Emotional detachment, anhedonia, apathy. Zachary's verbal responses reinforce this emotional emptiness. When asked how he felt when he killed his mother, his response was a chillingly simple, "I didn't feel anything." He denied feeling remorse, sadness, or even anger. He claimed the thought of killing his mother didn't bother him. This suggests a profound state of anhedonia, the inability to feel pleasure, and apathy, a lack of interest, enthusiasm, or concern. When asked if he loved his mother, his answer was a qualified and lukewarm, "I'd say somewhat." This inability to form or acknowledge deep emotional connections, even with his primary caregiver, is a significant psychological marker. It could stem from a personality disorder like schizoid personality disorder, where individuals are detached and indifferent to social relationships, or it could be another manifestation of the negative symptoms of schizophrenia. Paradoxical laughter. In one of the most bizarre moments of the interrogation, Zachary made a stunning claim. When asked if he was screaming or crying while hitting his mother, he said no. The detectives pressed, and Zachary claimed he was laughing his ass off. This is an example of inappropriate affect or paradoxical laughter, where an individual's emotional expression is incongruent with the situation. Laughing hysterically during a brutal murder is profoundly abnormal. This can be a symptom of psychosis, where the laughter might be a response to internal stimuli, hallucinations, or a result of disorganized emotional regulation characteristic of schizophrenia. However, it's also crucial to consider the alternative, that this was a performative statement. Knowing he was being recorded, and having studied killers, Zachary might have said this to cultivate an image of himself as a monstrous Joker-like villain, someone who finds mirth in horror. This aligns with his later reaction to being called evil, the evil stare and smile. The interrogation concluded with an observation about Zachary's nonverbal behavior. He was consistently looking at the detectives from under his eyebrows. When the detective noted, "It looks kind of evil when you do that," Zachary's reaction was not denial or confusion, but a giggle and a smile. The detective astutely observed, "I think you know that you're doing it, and you're smiling about it, so I think you're pretty aware of what you're doing." This moment is highly revealing. For a boy obsessed with killers and dark imagery, being called evil may have been perceived as a compliment, an affirmation of the powerful, menacing identity he was trying to project. This suggests a degree of self-awareness and performance that complicates the narrative of a purely psychosis-driven act. He may have been consciously or unconsciously cultivating a persona that aligned with his internal fantasies. In summary, Zachary's affective state is a complex tapestry of genuine emotional deficit, flat affect, anhedonia, and potentially performative, incongruous emotional displays, paradoxical laughter, smiling at being called evil. This duality is central to the mystery of his psychology. To what extent was he a victim of a disease that hollowed out his emotions, and to what extent was he an actor playing the role of a monster he idolized? 3.2 Cognitive and behavioral patterns, the architecture of a killing. Beyond his emotional state, Zachary's thoughts and actions reveal a mind preoccupied with violence, control, and meticulous, albeit flawed, planning. Obsession with murder and violence. Zachary's digital footprint paints a clear picture of a deep and abiding fascination with the macabre. His phone contained a wealth of disturbing material, apps about serial killers and torture devices, gory images and bookmarked articles on some of the most gruesome and notorious murder cases, including the torture murder of Junko Furuta and the Sasebo slashing, where an 11-year-old girl murdered her 12-year-old classmate. This was not a passing curiosity, it was a dedicated study. His note from January 2012, 7 months before the murder, reveals a methodical mind analyzing the consistent reasons why most killers are caught. He critiqued their reliance on civilization, their failure to migrate, and their use of loud weapons. This note is critically important. It demonstrates not just a fascination, but an aspiration. He was not merely consuming true crime content. He was studying it as a trade, seeking to learn from others' mistakes to become a smarter killer. This points toward a cold, cognitive process of identification with predators, a hallmark of developing psychopathy. Premeditation and planning. The evidence for premeditation is overwhelming, directly contradicting any notion of a sudden, impulsive act of rage. Verbal admission. He explicitly told investigators he had been thinking about killing his mother for a couple years. Weapon choice. His choice of a sledgehammer was deliberate. He told police, "I would have used a knife, but I was worried that I'd miss a vital area." This reveals a chillingly rational calculation aimed at ensuring lethality. The potential influence of the movie adaptation of Stephen King's Misery, which he was reading, cannot be dismissed, despite his denials. The coded sledgehammer. The discovery of a code written on the sledgehammer handle, Z Requiem, and a corresponding alphabetic key, is powerful evidence of ritualistic planning. Zed likely stands for his initials, Zachary Everett Davis, and Requiem is a mass for the dead. He was, in effect, naming his murder weapon, imbuing the act with a sense of ceremony and identity. This goes beyond simple planning into the realm of fantasy enactment. Post-crime actions. He had a backpack packed, suggesting a plan to flee. He attempted to destroy evidence via arson. He disposed of his phone to avoid being tracked. These are not the actions of someone in a disorganized psychotic state. They are the calculated steps of a fugitive. Note-taking and journaling. Zachary used his phone and a physical notepad to document his dark thoughts. These writings provide a direct window into his psyche. The Requiem poem, the poem about death being an omnipresent force that executes one by one without a sound, reveals a grandiose and morbid worldview. He sees death as an indiscriminate, powerful agent, perhaps an entity he wishes to emulate. The possible victim. Note, the entry Samantha Marshall, female possible victim of, is deeply disturbing. It suggests he was scouting or fantasizing about future victims, lending significant weight to the theory that he had aspirations to become a serial killer. The confession note. The note written immediately after the murder. "I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel remorse. My only true regret was that I didn't give her a faster death. I didn't want her to suffer," is a masterpiece of self-contradiction. He claims to feel nothing, yet expresses regret and a desire to have prevented her suffering. This could be a fleeting moment of empathy breaking through his detachment, or, more cynically, a self-serving attempt to portray himself as a merciful killer, a common trope in the fiction and true crime stories he consumed. Flawed execution and post-crime behavior. Despite his extensive study of how killers get caught, Zachary's own plan was amateurish. His attempt at arson was ineffective. He was found walking aimlessly only 5 miles from home, and his post-crime stop at a Thornton's convenience store for a Pepsi is bizarrely mundane. This disconnect between his grandiose self-perception as a smarter killer and his clumsy execution suggests a significant break from reality. He could cognitively plan the what and how of the murder, but he lacked the foresight and practical ability to manage the what next. This could be evidence of the executive dysfunction associated with schizophrenia, where the ability to plan and execute complex multi-stage tasks is impaired, even if the core ideation is intact. 3.3 Social and interpersonal dynamics, a world of isolation. Zachary's relationships, as described in the text, were sparse and fraught with contradiction. He appeared to live in a state of profound social isolation, with his family serving as his entire and ultimately targeted social world. Relationship with his mother, Melanie Davis. The text messages between Zachary and Melanie present a picture of a seemingly normal, even loving mother-son relationship. They exchanged heart emojis and made plans to see movies. She sent messages like, "Love you," and he responded with affection. This stands in bone-chilling contrast to his actions, and his later claim that he only loved her somewhat. This dichotomy can be interpreted in several ways. The loving texts were a performance, a mask of normalcy he wore to conceal his true intentions. He was capable of fleeting moments of affection, but these were overshadowed by a deeper pathology of resentment or detachment. His illness created a Jekyll and Hyde duality, where one part of him could engage in normal social bonding, while another, darker part was plotting her demise. His eventual allegation that she dismissed his claims of abuse, if viewed through the lens of his psyche, regardless of the claim's veracity, would position her as a betrayer, transforming her from a caregiver into a target of vengeful ideation. Relationship with his brother, Joshua Davis. This relationship is equally complex. The brothers described their relationship differently. Josh said they kind of keep to ourselves, while acknowledging Zachary was quiet and odd. Yet their text messages show a surprising degree of affection and support. They frequently said "I love you" with heart emojis. Josh offered to alter Zachary's birthday plans to ensure his happiness and apologized for arguing. On the surface, Josh appeared to be a caring older brother. This makes Zachary's plan to murder him all the more perplexing. Why kill the one person who seemed to show him consistent affection? Possible resentment. The incident at school where Josh stepped in to defend Zachary from a bully is telling. Zachary may have resented his brother's intervention, viewing it as a confirmation of his own weakness and Josh's superiority. For someone with a grandiose, power-seeking fantasy life, being saved could be profoundly humiliating. Eliminating a witness. From a purely practical standpoint, killing Josh was a necessary step in his plan to escape undetected. A deeper pathology. When asked why he wanted to kill Josh, his only confidant, Zachary's response was, "I don't know," later amended to, "I'd rather not, sir," implying he did know but wouldn't say. This refusal suggests the reason is deeply personal and perhaps shameful. It could be rooted in a profound pathological jealousy or a nihilistic desire to sever all his worldly ties. His final act of blaming Josh in court was the ultimate betrayal, transforming his supposed protector into his scapegoat. Relationship with his father, Chris Davis. Though Chris Davis died when Zachary was only 9, his presence looms large. The loss of a parent at such a formative age is a significant trauma. For Zachary, who is already described as a quiet kid, this loss appears to have precipitated a deeper withdrawal. His later claim that he heard his father's voice commanding him to kill his mother places his father at the center of his psychosis. This could be a genuine auditory hallucination, where his fractured mind co-opted the memory of his father to give voice to his own homicidal urges. It is a way of externalizing the monstrous command, making it not his own thought, but an order from a powerful, albeit deceased, authority figure. Friendships and social isolation. Zachary admitted to having no friends other than his mother and brother. His brother described him as a quiet person who stays to himself. The only other significant relationship mentioned is with a teacher, a Mr. Voss. His note about Mr. Voss is one of the few instances of genuine, vulnerable emotion found in the record. "He's the only person I've met that has sincerely cared about me. Hell, he's like a father to me." He expresses deep anxiety about their friendship being damaged and hopes for forgiveness. This poignant note reveals a boy capable of attachment and desperate for connection, particularly with a father figure. It shows that the emotionally vacant persona he presented in interrogation was not his only reality. There was a lonely, hurting child beneath the monstrous facade, which makes his subsequent actions even more tragic. 3.4 Developmental history and etiological factors. Zachary's path to matricide was not instantaneous. It was a developmental trajectory marked by trauma, emerging mental illness, and a critical failure of intervention. Early trauma. The death of his father from ALS when he was 9 years old was the foundational traumatic event of his childhood. This loss not only deprived him of a parent, but also exposed him to the grim reality of a debilitating and fatal disease. For a quiet and introverted child, such an event can be psychologically catastrophic, leading to unresolved grief, depression, and a heightened vulnerability to mental illness. Onset of symptoms and early diagnoses. Following his father's death and the family's move, Zachary's behavior became increasingly strange. At age 11, his mother sought medical help. He received a diagnosis of a depressive disorder. Crucially, he also reported auditory hallucinations, hearing voices, including that of his deceased father. This led to a diagnosis of psychosis. These are classic prodromal, early symptoms of a schizophrenia spectrum disorder, which often emerges in mid to late adolescence. The combination of depression, social withdrawal, and psychosis at such a young age should have been a major red flag, indicating a severe and deteriorating mental condition. Cessation of treatment. In a decision with fatal consequences, his mother, Melanie, stopped his mental health treatment. The reason for this is unknown. She may have been in denial about the severity of her son's illness. She may have faced financial or logistical barriers to care, or she may have believed he was getting better. Whatever the reason, this cessation of treatment was a critical turning point. It left a severely disturbed adolescent with an emerging psychotic disorder to navigate his increasingly distorted reality without professional guidance or medication. The burgeoning psychosis, left unchecked, likely festered and grew, intertwining with his grief, isolation, and his dark, violent fantasies, creating the perfect storm that would culminate in her murder. The bookmark on his phone, Understanding Schizophrenia, suggests that on some level, Zachary himself was aware that something was profoundly wrong with his mind and was attempting to self-diagnose. 4. Diagnostic considerations, a differential diagnosis. The constellation of symptoms, behaviors, and historical factors in Zachary Davis's case points toward a complex clinical picture, likely involving comorbid conditions. A differential diagnosis must consider several possibilities, each of which accounts for different facets of his presentation. 4.1 Schizophrenia spectrum and other psychotic disorders. This is the most strongly supported diagnostic category, backed by both historical diagnosis and presenting symptoms. Schizophrenia is a severe mental disorder characterized by profound disruptions in thinking, affecting language, perception, and the sense of self. It often includes psychotic experiences, such as hearing voices or holding delusional beliefs. Evidence supporting the diagnosis. Positive symptoms, presence of abnormal experiences, hallucinations. Zachary reported hearing voices, specifically that of his deceased father, which he later claimed commanded him to kill. This is a classic auditory hallucination. Delusions. His belief that he was assaulted and that his mother betrayed him by not believing him could be a paranoid delusion. These are fixed, false beliefs that are not amenable to reason. His entire worldview, steeped in grandiose fantasies of being a master killer, may have had delusional components. Negative symptoms, absence of normal functions. Flat effect. As extensively detailed, his monotone voice and blank expression are hallmark negative symptoms. Alogia, poverty of speech. His responses in the interrogation were often brief, monosyllabic, and he rarely offered spontaneous information, consistent with alogia. Avolitionaz apathy, his profound lack of motivation and apparent indifference to his own fate, it doesn't really matter if he gets life or the death penalty, are strong indicators of avolition. Disorganized symptoms, inappropriate affect. His claim of laughing his ass off during the murder is a prime example of affect that is incongruous with the situation. Cognitive disorganization. The disconnect between his elaborate planning fantasies and his clumsy, ineffective escape plan suggests a degree of executive dysfunction and disorganized thinking. Historical evidence. He had a formal diagnosis of psychosis at age 11 and was actively seeking information about schizophrenia online. One evaluating psychologist concluded his thoughts at the time of the crime were driven by psychosis. Conclusion: the evidence for a schizophrenia spectrum disorder is compelling. It provides a powerful explanatory framework for his emotional emptiness, his bizarre claims, his social withdrawal, and potentially the ultimate command hallucination that triggered the murder. 4. 2 personality disorders. While schizophrenia explains the psychotic elements, other aspects of his personality suggest an underlying personality disorder, which could be comorbid. Schizoid personality disorder. This disorder is characterized by a pervasive pattern of detachment from social relationships and a restricted range of emotional expression. Evidence: Zachary's preference for solitary activities, his lack of close friends, his emotional coldness and detachment, and his apparent indifference to the praise or criticism of others, until being called evil, align well with schizoid traits. His brother's description of him as someone who keeps to himself fits this pattern perfectly. He seems not to desire or enjoy close relationships, even with family. Antisocial personality disorder, psychopathy, sociopathy. While a formal diagnosis of ASPD cannot be made until age 18, Zachary displays numerous traits associated with its developmental precursor, conduct disorder with callous, unemotional traits, often referred to as nascent psychopathy. Evidence: lack of remorse or guilt. His statement, "I didn't feel remorse," is a direct expression of this core trait. Callousness and lack of empathy. His ability to brutally murder his own mother, plan to kill his brother, and then discuss it with chilling detachment demonstrates a profound lack of empathy. Grandiose sense of self-worth. His belief that he could become a smarter killer and outwit police points to a grandiose self-concept. Pathological lying and manipulation. His constantly shifting stories, the abuse allegation, the psychosis claim, blaming his brother, are clear examples of manipulation aimed at evading responsibility. The judge's ultimate con man comment speaks directly to this possibility. Early behavioral problems. His strange behavior starting around age 11 could be an early indicator. Conclusion: it is highly plausible that Zachary has both a schizophrenia spectrum disorder and significant psychopathic traits. This combination, sometimes referred to as schizopathy, is particularly dangerous. The psychosis provides the bizarre, internally driven motivations and breaks from reality, while the psychopathic traits provide the callousness, lack of empathy, and manipulative capacity to act on violent urges without remorse. 4.3 Complex Trauma and Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder, PTSD. The impact of trauma cannot be understated. Evidence: the death of his father was a significant adverse childhood experience, ACE. The unverified claim of sexual assault, if true, would constitute another profound trauma. Symptoms of complex trauma in adolescence can include emotional dysregulation, social isolation, a distorted self-concept, and even dissociative or psychotic-like symptoms. It is possible that his psychosis was, in part, a trauma response, a complete psychological break from a reality that had become unbearable due to grief and abuse. His emotional numbness could be seen as a form of dissociation, a defense mechanism to cope with overwhelming psychological pain. 5. Deconstructing the motive, a labyrinth of lies. The central enigma of the case remains the why. Zachary provided multiple mutually exclusive motives, making it impossible to identify a single definitive reason. Instead, we must analyze each narrative as a psychological artifact. "I'm not sure," the initial void. His first response was a claim of ignorance. This could be a truthful representation of his state of mind if the act was driven by a psychotic impulse he did not consciously understand. It could also have been a defensive posture, a refusal to engage while he formulated a more strategic narrative. The abuse-revenge narrative. This narrative, introduced mid-interrogation, serves a clear psychological and potentially legal purpose. It reframes the matricide from a motiveless, monstrous act into an act of delayed revenge. It casts him as a victim, not a predator. His mother's crime in this narrative was not abuse but a failure to protect and believe him, making her an accessory to his pain. This narrative, whether true or a delusion or a lie, provides a rational, almost sympathetic framework for an irrational act. It is a classic strategy of justification. The command hallucination narrative. This motive, offered to psychologists, directly leverages his known mental health history. "My father's voice told me to do it," externalizes all responsibility. He is no longer the agent of the crime, but merely the instrument of a ghostly command. This is the foundation for an insanity defense, suggesting he lacked the mens rea, guilty mind, because he could not distinguish right from wrong or was compelled by an irresistible psychotic force. The scapegoat narrative. Blaming his brother Josh in court was an act of pure, desperate self-preservation. It showed a complete disregard for his brother, who had previously been his only confidant. This radical shift demonstrates his capacity for profound betrayal and manipulation. It suggests that when faced with ultimate accountability, his primary motivator was not truth or loyalty, but escape at any cost. Synthesis of motives. It is unlikely that any single one of these motives is the whole truth. It is more probable that the real motive was a chaotic fusion of factors. A psychotic break fueled by years of untreated illness, layered with a deep-seated resentment toward his mother, perhaps for stopping his treatment or for other perceived slights, all filtered through a psychopathic lens that allowed him to act with extreme violence and zero remorse. The subsequent shifting narratives were not explanations of this internal state, but post hoc rationalizations and manipulative ploys designed to navigate the consequences. 6. Conclusion: the confluence of sickness and malice. The case of Zachary Davis resists easy categorization. He is neither a simple monster nor a purely tragic victim of mental illness. He exists in the terrifying gray area where severe psychosis, profound trauma, and cold psychopathic malice converge. The most parsimonious explanation is that Zachary Davis was suffering from an emerging schizophrenia spectrum disorder, a condition that was tragically left untreated after an initial diagnosis of psychosis. This illness fractured his perception of reality, fueled paranoid and grandiose ideations, and eroded his capacity for normal emotional experience and expression, leaving a hollowed-out shell of a boy. This pre-existing vulnerability was compounded by the trauma of his father's death and a life of profound social isolation. Into this fertile ground of sickness and despair, he planted the seeds of a dark obsession. He studied murderers not as cautionary tales, but as role models, cultivating a fantasy life in which he was not a weak, lonely boy, but a powerful, intelligent, and fearsome predator. He adopted their persona, practicing their emotional detachment and even their evil stares. On August 10, 2012, this confluence reached its horrific apotheosis. It is plausible that a psychotic trigger, perhaps a genuine command hallucination, perhaps a final delusional crystallization of his resentment, impelled him to act. But the act itself was carried out with the callous, remorseless efficiency of a psychopath. He did not simply snap. He planned, he calculated, he chose his weapon for maximum lethality, and he sought to eliminate all witnesses. His subsequent behavior, particularly his ever-changing motives and his final attempt to frame his brother, demonstrates a profound manipulative streak. Whether this was the cunning of a con man or the desperate, disorganized attempts of a mentally ill individual to make sense of his own incomprehensible actions is the question that lingers. The answer is likely both. He was a deeply sick young man whose illness did not absolve him of his capacity for cruelty and calculation, but instead enabled it, providing the distorted lens through which matricide became a viable, even a necessary course of action. Zachary Davis is a chilling testament to the fact that the human mind can be both broken and evil at the same time, a reality that the legal and psychological fields will continue to grapple with long after his case has faded from the headlines.